Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another podcast of Crashing Convos. In this episode, we have Ricky Van Rickley. He's a retired Green Beret, husband, father, grandpa, integrative health coach, newly integrative health coach, and certified personal trainer. And this is where I met him in University Health and Performance. I have a video out on this channel where we did this 50-mile paddle last year with Task Force Hydro. We'll get into all that. I've been wanting to have him on here, have a conversation about his path, his journey, and what's brought him to this point, as with hope that something in our story will resonate with anybody that's kind of suffering out there and whatever they're going through, and find their light through the darkness or wherever they're at. And at the end of the day, it's up to you, the individual, to do the work and make the decision not to want to be where you're at. We all have the key to our own cage. And so, yeah, this is just a way of kind of sharing our experiences and stories and with you. And yeah, and perhaps when we have him on again, we'll talk about some other stuff, get him more of the passions of other things. But Ricky, thanks for coming on.
Morning, Simon. How are you? You're welcome. Everybody calls me Ricky. You know, I'm one of many Rickies in my family. Baby Ricky, Ricky boy. Everybody calls me Ricky. Yep, retired Green Beret. 27 years in the Army. 20 of that was spent in Special Forces. Majority of it in First Special Forces Group, you know, in Fort Lewis, Washington, and Okinawa, Japan. 8 years of it in the Crisis Response Force. Part of it is the Master Breacher. And then came back as a warrant officer. Spent my times on ODA 184, 123, 134, the operations deck over there in first group, and then ODA 1316, which formerly ODA 176. That was team. My first team as a warrant officer. And then I spent my time over there in the CRIF as the operations officer over there in Okinawa. Went down, shut down Chisoda P with Alpha Company, first as their company opso. And then retired out of Hawaii my last 3 years working with Jayad West in Camp Smith as the counter narcotics L&O for Coast Guard Command, which had DEA and, you know, FBI and HSI, all as a joint interagency. Spent most of my time there just bringing soft teams, Marines and Army and Navy into the Philippines, Cambodia, Thailand to help our partner forces. And then, you know, since 2015, I worked for GoRuck off and on. And then while I was in the military, and then, you know, retired here in Jacksonville, Florida, to work for GoRuck, and was a cadre for them and full time for at headquarters. And I quit working for them and went back to work as a contractor for Asymmetric Warfare Group out of Fort Meade, Maryland. So I would just fly up and down the coast at Monday through Fridays during the COVID timeframe, and they shut their doors and excuse me, shut their doors, and I started working in commercial construction as a construction project manager with my PMP certification. And then that's when I started Task Force Hydro 1 here in Jacksonville, and using surfing and all that. And then now I quit working for a construction company just because I got cancer, and, you know, there's a lot of stress involved in that. And now I'm a certified personal trainer, which I really don't train people in that. You know, I've got the certification to help me out with some things that I look forward in the future. It helps me out with coaching, paddling, and outrigger paddling here in my organization. You know, and my goal is to be an integrative health coach and help mentor men and vets. That's what my goal is.
Yeah, man, that's what I need to go back to. I still plan to do that this year, IHC. and
Yeah.
UHP. Uh, but so where are you from originally?
San Diego, California.
Okay.
Don't hold it against me. Sorry.
You're good, man. I'm from San Antonio. It's kind of a bunch of brown people just in a different place.
Yeah, man.
Oh,
I'm a Hapa anyways, or what they call us, my mom's family's from Guam. They call us Chamales. Yeah.
yeah. I noticed that Guamanians, like everyone's their cousin.
Yeah,
Like
that's true, man.
I didn't, well, I didn't, I knew some Guam guys, and when I was in, and
We
they
call
were
them
always
Chamorros.
Chamorros. Yeah, that's right, that's right.
Yeah.
Um, and they were like, "Yeah, it's my cousin, and it's my cousin," and I was just like, after a while, I was like, "Is it?" I think that's just something that y'all say. I mean, I don't know if it's literally their cousin or
No, it's
it.
pretty much literally we're cousins.
Okay,
It's such a small island. It's like, I think the widest part's like 7 miles wide. It's
okay.
32 miles long, you know? And, you get a bunch of people there without TV, right? Or just, and just hanging out in
Yeah,
the room, and you got FM radio before, satellites and all that and internet, man. What you going to do?
yeah, it's
Right?
true.
You're going to make babies. So,
It's true.
everybody's sort of related, it's funny because the whole time I was in the military and especially being in special forces, everywhere we flew, I had cousins. So we would fly somewhere like Yokota Air Base from Okinawa, right? And the plane would break down and everyone was like, what are we going to do? And I'm like, oh, I got a cousin here, right? And they'd show up with a van, pick us up or bring us pizzas. We were flying to Afghanistan. Excuse me. And we landed and my cousin's wife was working in Afghanistan. I mean, in Germany on the way there. She
Oh,
picked
okay.
us up, brought us pizzas. Almost
Yeah,
every base or place I've been to overseas in a combat zone, I've had a cousin.
that's crazy, man. Like family everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, even with my organization, we started surfing, and I'm here in Mayport, and this guy I met surfing, he's Chamorro, and we start talking, and he's hanging out with us, joins the organization, and then we find out that his grandfather's the airport's named after his grandfather, Antonio
Wow.
Wampat Airport. And we start talking. I asked my mom about it. All of a sudden, he texts me. He's like, "We're cousins." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "He showed me on 23andMe that we're blood cousins."
Dude,
And
that's gotta be crazy. Like, did you do 23andMe or like
yeah, I did.
Ancestry.com? How many
Yeah,
people like? Well, I don't know if you did it private. I did Ancestry.com, but it's rare that I ever get like a hit like, "Hey, someone's your cousin" or whatever. But for you guys, it's like, I'm pretty sure, right?
yeah, it's pretty big, man, and it's weird. Like I've got, you could see our ancestry comes from Malaysia through Indonesia, the Philippines, and into Guam. But also we had that Spanish influence.
Mm,
You know, it's pretty amazing.
yeah, freaking Spanish.
It's I don't know. I didn't go to Guam until I joined. I never went to Guam until I was in the special forces. Right, 2005 was like the first time I'd been there, and we
What was
go
that
there,
like?
and what was that?
I said, what was that like?
It's pretty amazing, just to see because there's a Navy base there called Big Navy, and it's on this peninsula called Orote Peninsula, and the family that used to own it was the Perez family, Perez, not Perez, but Perez.
Okay.
And I went there and visited, and I'm looking at um, the original cemetery on there from when there wasn't a Navy base there, and it's all my family's last names: Perez, Acanina, Quintanilla, Concepcion, and I look. I called my mom, and she's like, "Yeah, that's where our family's from." And I looked into it. That whole time we were there, I mean, before World War II, that was my grandfather's land.
That's crazy, dude.
So my great grandfather and his followers before them, they used to provide goods and services to foreign navies and foreign merchants coming through Guam. They used to resupply them. So my house, our family farm right there, was one of the first locations that was bombed when the Japanese invaded Guam.
That's crazy, like to visit a land like for the first time that you like your heritage is linked to, like your no kidding, that's where like where your roots are from. Like I did a ancestry.com and I think I'm probably gonna jack this up. Coahuila, Mexico. That's where I tracked like at least my it was my mom's family or my dad's family. As far as where my mom's from, probably the same area. I'm not sure, but it's like to go back. If I were to go back and visit there, like I would imagine like there would be some type of like feeling that I would be connected like with the land, right?
Yeah.
So for you to go back and I don't know, man, it's like kind of surreal to a certain extent.
Yeah. Like you said, man, like just going back and feeling that connection, with family. Like, where do my traits come from? My characteristics,
Mm-hmm.
my physical characteristics, my generational characteristics, and how I think, and how I love, and how I communicate with people, how I feel. I think it's very important. Growing up, it's like my parents. I'm a latchkey kid. So your parents used to leave and just drop you off at grandparents' house or just leave you at home, right? Well, my parents, we just went to my grandpa's house. So all the cousins were always we hung out, and dude, we only had cable TV where you slid it up and down, like,
Yeah, I remember that.
right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there'd be Playboy, and you're like, oh, there's a boob, right? Or we weren't
Yeah.
paying for it because our grandpa's too poor. So
Yeah.
you tune it with the twister thing, like, right? And you're like, oh, there's a boob, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, and then watching, it was just funny. No air conditioning, small 1,000 square foot house, right? And you got like 10 nephews and grandkids there, and grandpa's cooking fish and rice, or Vienna sausages, right?
Yeah, dude.
But you're just running around and having a good time, so when I was in Guam, it was funny. It was like it was meant to be. There was a guy at the cemetery, and he turns out to be my mom's second cousin, right? And she knew him.
Uh-huh.
She had met him before when they were younger. He worked for the fire department there on base, or near, right off base. And he took me to the village where my family's from, because
Whoa.
my family had to relocate once the Navy took over, right? Well, they moved to, and the Japanese were there. They moved to a small town called Santa Rita, about a mile away. And the current mayor was my mom's first cousin, right? So I go knock on the mayor's door, and they're like, "Hey, boy, your uncle's not here. He's at his ranch." I'm like, "Oh man, that's probably far away, right?" Like, "Oh no, it's right there." Right. It was funny, man. And then it was really cool, man, because they're like, "Hey," we started talking. It was like we knew each other already, and they invited me to go hunting, and I'm like, "Hunting? What are we hunting?" I'm Guam. Like, deer. Like, okay, so what are we using? And they're like, we pull out these old M16s, man, like Vietnam era A1s.
Whoa.
And so I show up the next morning, and it was like 6 of us. And I said, "How are we doing this? We're going to walk up these 2 fingers up the hill. One team here, one team here. And then one team will go up the middle with dogs. They'll chase the deer up." And they're like, "We'll face in." And we shoot. Now, I'm trained in weapons, and safe engagements, and I was just like, "Oh my God, that doesn't sound right." But I didn't want to be that one, that like ruined the
Yeah.
party right away, like. So think personally, I was really glad that we didn't see no deer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a great time, man.
It's there's a saying that my mom used, well, it's like the blood talks. Like you're talking about, you met your uncle and he was like, you just like, even though you never met him, you knew him like because of your
Yeah,
blood.
yeah, you felt it, right? It was
Yeah.
immediate, and there's that cultural acceptance, right? But also just that culture where you're welcome. You showed up, you're going to hang with us, you're going to eat our food and everything, and I grew up with that. Even in California, I called everybody uncle, auntie, even if you weren't my uncle, auntie, you're related to us, right? And older cousins we call uncle and aunties.
Yeah. I've heard that before. Like even like my Hawaiian friends, like
Yeah,
they call everyone aunt or auntie, uncle, and stuff like that.
yeah, because it's a community thing, right? The community raises everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes a village, right?
Takes a village to raise people, dude.
So what were your influences to join the military? Like what was that decision? Like
Man, so
what
my whole
spawned that?
family was in the military. Even my father. I think there was one uncle that did not join the military out of his side, his brother Mark. Great guy though, right? And then on my mom's side, every one of her brothers were in. Both my grandfathers were in. My great grandfather in Minneapolis. On my dad's side, he's buried in the Civil War Museum in St. Paul, Minnesota. You know, um, and then my mom's father, he joined the Navy after the Japanese invaded Guam. And then he was in World War II. He was in Iwo Jima, all those places, and then ended up being in Korea working with the Seabees and got stabbed.
By
If
CB?
I remember the story right, he got stabbed when the Chinese invaded. I think it was in Incheon. And then I just always remember listening to my grandfather talk when they're like, boy, about being in the Navy, and how it's just his stories, and then I would read these books, these World War II books and these Vietnam books. Like I read the book about Carlos Hathcock, the Marine Corps sniper. I read all the Red Cell, the Rogue series by Demo Dick Marchenko, the Navy SEAL. The guy who helped stand up SEAL Team 6. And I just always respect, even though I was a shithead as a kid, right, and in a lot of trouble. I think God was protecting me. I think He was running me through the ringer. But God willing, I never, due to the grace of God, man, I never got arrested to where it affected me joining the military.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I think most of us were shitheads before we came in. I mean, I speak for myself. I don't want to overgeneralize, but yeah, I don't know how I didn't get arrested. Even in the military, like I was in the back of cop cars from fighting, hands on the hood, but
Mm-hmm.
by the grace of God, man, I was let go. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, cause, yeah, it's crazy. I mean, what it's preparing us for or what barely starting to like kind of unfold that. Um, but going back to like your uncles and the lineage and the history, like, man, those are like, I mean, you and I have both had different experiences in the military, widely different, but those people that fought before us in those type of jungle environments, that's a whole different like style of fighting and like elements and bugs and mosquitoes and man, it's wild.
Think about it, Simon. It's like you said, that environment, the temperature, right? The creatures, but also think about the uniforms, right? Like Like World War II, they had wool uniforms, dude, like canvas uniforms,
Yeah.
right? And here we go. We got these lightweight, non-rip, rip-stop uniforms that breathe and all that stuff, and they're still hot as heck, right? And these dudes are eating. Luckily, they get to eat once a day. We go to these chow halls, got salad bars,
Yeah.
and rippets, and
Yeah.
these guys, I mean, they had food that if they didn't have a can opener, they were screwed, man. Right. And then
Yeah.
they weren't eating fresh water, drinking fresh water a lot of times, you know?
Yeah. And like a small cut can turn into like freaking gangrene or not gangrene, but like it can
Yeah.
get infected so easily because of how humid
Gangrene.
and
Yeah.
uh,
It's just like our society and the men that greatest generation from World War II and even before, man, they were tough, tough. We were just talking about it last night, like how spoiled and privileged and spoiled are we as a society now to where we get to eat or we can eat every hour if we wanted to. I
yeah.
think about my stomach hurts. Let me go eat. Like back then, you were lucky if you got to eat once a day. Even not even in the military, but civilians, like and a full meal to feed 5 or 6 people. It's like back then, you better eat your food or dad was eating your food, right? So he
Right.
could have enough food to go to work next day.
Yeah. I remember there was times like where my mom would say she wasn't hungry or she would because she had 6 kids, right? So she would rather her kids eat than her eat.
Yeah.
Um and I mean you didn't catch on to it at the time until you started getting older and then you're like, you know what she's doing, and then like um but yeah, there were those times. And then like you think about the Great Depression, like how people like it's just different mindsets and different circumstances. And I do feel like talking about being spoiled, that's why people are complaining so much now. Like they want to leave the United States. Yeah, stuff's not great right now, but I mean, as you know, as we know, going to a different country, like there's different levels of poverty. There's real situations going on with governments where they can't even uh they have no freedom at all, like just North Korea, right? For example. And people do not have a good understanding of how bad it could get um like quickly, and I think they start to like fantasize about these other places that we have it so good here. And I think that's why like people there is no they don't have to worry. I don't want to say everyone, but a good amount of people don't have to worry about their next meal, and they just have this place of indulgence and gluttony, and they just can type on the computer and like they have it. We have it too good. Uh, So
Yeah.
therefore they have things to complain about. And again, I get it. There's a lot of leaders that are in charge that are not setting the great example. And it's it's kind of it's been trickling down for some time now. But yeah, man, it's like different generations and I don't think I'm as tough as my dad's generation or like the generation before that. It's I forget what that saying is. It's like tough tough times make strong men and good times make weak men or something like that.
That's it's exactly right, man. It's like I honestly, man, it's like me growing up as a kid, I had really hard times. It's like I remember a time, dude, where we had like 30 different ways of cooking ramen, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Raw ramen, right? Like one day we had ramen with like what's the
Tapatio.
spices from you used to put on the apricots and or the little pears and all that stuff in Mexico.
Tahin.
Yeah, that tahini, right?
Yeah.
We used to put that on ramen, and the next day we put the ramen sauce on it, and then we crash it up, and every once in a while we put the cheese from macaroni and cheese in there.
Yeah.
And the only reason why we were doing that is because guess what? We didn't have power, because my mom and dad were meth heads, you know,
Yeah.
we're poor as hell, but in order to eat, my mom would go and buy these cases of ramen, you know. Every once in a while, it'd be like Thanksgiving when we got the government cheese,
Yeah.
big old block of government cheese, you
We
know.
should we should do quesadillas or like
Oh,
conchitas was our go to, or at least for my family was my go to. And I still make that from time to time. I just made it like when it gets cold, I'll make it just for like nostalgia and stuff like that.
you talking
Um,
about nostalgia? Every once in a
yeah,
while, I'll go to somebody's house and they'll have that big, like 12-inch long 4x4 piece of cheddar
knock somebody
cheese,
out with that bad boy.
right?
Yeah,
Dude, and I swear, it's like, I'm like flashback right to my childhood, dude. I'm like looking for the
yeah,
like flimsy metal cheese grater where
yeah,
you can cut a finger off, and and then I'm looking for the frying pan, dude, with no vinyl heat thing on the handle, and it's the wobbly handle,
yeah,
that's all burnt up. I'm looking for like little 10-inch flour tortillas, and so
yeah.
that's what I'm thinking, and then also, like looking for the corn. My mom used to buy those packs of corned beef, little straight, like little flat pieces of for sandwiches,
Hmm.
because that's all they could afford. They buy that, and it would just say lunch meat. It was like
Yeah.
it was like a white package with a label lunch meat.
Is that the one where it was like almost like a compressed block of
Yeah,
just like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. There was
yeah. So
go ahead.
I mean, but that made me tough, man.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that stuff, it was like basic training for where we're at now. Yeah.
So it must have been a culture shock when you joined the military and you have like 3 squares a day, but like in a
Yeah.
good way, right? Um,
Yeah. It was really amazing to have grandparents that loved you. Right. Even before the military, I would the place where I knew that I'd always get something to eat was my grandparents' house. Especially like on a school day or when summer is out, when I started getting a little bit older and was just really struggling. It was really cool. I'd be riding my bike with my friends, and I'm in my grandparents' neighborhood. Pull in there and get something to eat, you know, and then take off, you know. But when I did join the military, it was like, oh man, I get to eat 3 times, I get really good meals 3 times a day.
yeah. When did you go to to basic training?
1991.
91. I joined in 98, so obviously different
Yeah.
different times. What was that like that cuz obviously the military changed quite a bit. So you joined like right at what Desert Storm or the
Yeah, I got the National Defense Ribbon for Desert Storm right at the end.
so there was like that period of peacetime, right? And then
Yeah, who was wasn't Clinton. George Bush was still in, right? And
yeah,
then it was
senior.
Clinton. Yeah.
I think it was George Bush senior. And then yeah. So what was that like that journey like from joining and then post 9/11, like the ops tempo, like the mission.
Yeah. So it was really weird. It was a lot of training, right? There wasn't really anything big. I think the biggest thing that went on until before 9/11 was like Haiti, right? Oh, and then
Mm-hmm.
Bosnia, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So when I joined, I got married, and then I was National Guard first for a little bit, right? For about a year and a half while I had to get my I had to get my GED, and
Mm-hmm.
because I never went to high school, never stepped a day into ninth grade. So I got my GED, joined the military, National Guard, and then I went to, excuse me, I had to go back home to get my diploma. But when I ended up at 101st Airborne, it was like, all right, you're here. 2 weeks later, you got orders for Korea. You're leaving in exactly a year to Korea. But it was like a lot of JRT, Joint Readiness Training Center deployments. So even though I was in Fort Campbell for a year, I didn't even bring my wife out to Fort Campbell because I was like, I'm not even going to be here. A lot of training. And then I went to Korea for a year, a lot of training exercises, a lot of, my commander standing on top of his tank on Monday in the motor pool, like, boys, Korea's coming across the DMZ, like, hair on fire. Then went to Germany and got there. And as soon as I got there, we deployed for a year to Bosnia. And it was pretty busy for that time. But when we came back, I didn't really get wrapped up in everything when I was there, in Germany, only because I went to Bosnia for a year, came back, and I had seen some special forces dudes in Bosnia, living off the base and driving in with long hair, doing whatever they wanted, while I'm living this like I'm in this conventional unit where everyone's got their thumb on you. You got to ask permission to go to the gym and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, and then, I came back and I was like, I had my mindset, dude. I was like, I'm going to special forces. Right. Op tempo for me was just, all I did was train. I went to selection and came back. I had to wait a year. And then I got to, I went to airborne school, went to selection at Fort Bragg. And then I got into the unit at First Special Forces Group, and it was still like a peacetime army. George Bush had just been elected, right before I got there. It was 2000, right? And we, it's like I got there in November 2000, and from there it was like we still had the team room. The only computer we had two computers, and they still had floppy disks. We had one internet connection. It was dial up, like, right?
Yeah.
And the only manuals we had were all in 2-foot lockers, right? And we had to take our hard drives in and out, the con class and the classified, right?
Yeah.
And if you had to do a class, you had to like wait for your team sergeant or the team leader to get off the computer, right? So to do your POIs. But it was, dude, and then the team rooms were tiny. The only equipment we had was like one holster. We had an M4 with like an M4 a maggot. The flashlight was a
Mm-hmm.
mag light that we actually taped on with the metal plumber's tape,
Yeah.
right? And we screwed it on with a screwdriver, right? And then my holster wasn't even one of those nice Kydex plastic holsters. It was a freaking canvas holster from my 9mm Beretta that was like 5 pounds. It felt like 5 pounds, right? And dude, we still had flak jackets. We didn't even really have body armor. We're plates, right? And I'm like, wow, this is it. And I was actually on a ghost team, which what it was is it was the old Halo team. They used to have a Halo team per company. There was three companies per battalion. And they went down during the Clinton era, they went down to one scuba team and one Halo team per battalion. So now they were standing it back up. But during that time, all the equipment from those teams got raped from all the other teams borrowed from it. So now we didn't even have equipment that we needed. Some of us didn't even have a weapon assigned to us. So, but shortly after that, a year later, 10 months later from me getting on the team, the towers got hit. And dude, it was like, go to warp speed, Scotty. Right? And it was like, so we used to have to do full mission not full mission pro, isolations for missions, just like training missions overseas to go train the Thais or the Filipinos. And what teams used to do, they used to have to compete, right? You would come in and you would do your isolation. You would come up with your courses of action, how to do the mission overseas, right? And then you'd go in and you'd give your briefing to the commander, the battalion. And then they would pick the best team for that mission, right? So after 9/11 hit, that went away, man. I remember coming in, I actually screwed up. I was coming in on 9/11. My team had that day off. I think it was on Monday. My team had that day off. I forgot about it. I show up, and there's people in the battalion, and they're all looking at the screens on the TV. They're like, see what happened? And, the towers fell, and all of a sudden I'm locked in the compound for like 24 hours. Right. And then that's when all of a sudden I went home. When I came in that morning, it was coming in the front gate of the base. It was just simple. Let me see your ID card. The next day I was coming in, there was dudes in flak jackets and M249s pointing at my face.
Yeah.
With people with flags and everything on the bridges and everything,
Yeah.
It changed like that, man, immediately.
I remember I was stationed at Eglin Air Force Base, and we were working on a Gator site. So just picture a remote site with a bunch of, different antennas and on telephone poles and what have you. And when we left the gate, everything was fine, right? Like, it was like business as usual, And then when we got called back, and I've talked about this before, so I'm just cutting to it. When we got called back and we're going to the gate, there was like a Humvee 240 up top, and it was just like, what the fuck? Like, and we didn't know, because we didn't have cell phones then, or at least we didn't have internet on the cell phones. And they didn't tell us because we had a radio, but they didn't want to tell us over the radio what happened. And we heard the radio station, and they were talking about like hijacking and stuff. But back in the day, like there was like hijackings every so often, right? But it was kind of a rare thing. But when we're coming back on base, it was just like, this is different. And then we didn't know until we got back to the unit or to our shop. And then we didn't have a TV. We didn't have internet then. So we had to put up a TV and then fucking wiggle the antenna to try to kind of, you're talking about the TV station with the channels, but we had a wire hanger or whatever at the back of the TV. So we're kind of getting like a fuzzy picture. But once we finally got somewhat of an understanding, like the everything kind of shifted, right? Everyone took it differently. Some people were very angry, like storming out. Some people were cursing. Some people were like, yeah, it was just like, it was different. And then that's when the ops tempo changed, right? Training started, like more money came in. As you can tell, I'm sure you were talking about a canvas holster, and now you're kind of getting a freaking alien looking kit or something, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I remember, like, immediately the sergeant major, he was old Delta Force dude, right? And he's like, we put in an order for desert camouflage uniforms, like, immediately, like, we're getting ready to go. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, slow down, high speed, like, well, don't worry. That's not even our area of operations, but it was funny, man. We went from the flak jackets to getting these new, like, vests, right, within a couple months, but they were in such a hurry to get them done as when they put the Molly gear, that's the Molly, so you get slide
Yeah.
magazines on. They put them on sideways, the wrong way. They were going up and down. So when they got magazine holsters and all that stuff, we're like, this ain't gonna work. I don't know if you remember the Gear Tactical Tailor, you know.
Yeah.
That guy was a kid who made gear out of the barracks on Fort Lewis, man, and that turned into a millionaire, dude.
Whoa.
No, and we were like his first customers. Even CrossFit, 2005, 2004, 2005, it got popular because of the war and the op tempo and the
Yeah.
functional fitness aspect of it, dude. They used special operations, dude, to catapult it. It's just weird, man, how the op tempo and everything and technology and life was really influenced by the war on terror.
Yeah, like I remember the track systems, the suspension training and all those
Yeah,
stuff like kind of being shown up on site and stuff. Yeah, it was, I mean, like I said, like two different worlds, but it was definitely very noticeable on our end as well.
yeah,
And yeah, and just started deploying more and we deployed differently. We did like onesie twosies. We a smaller footprint. We didn't have like units. Kind of just show up and we're calm guys, so we're just kind of like showing up, and then like sometimes our like the first deployments, our tools wouldn't show up, so we would just have to use fucking Gerbers, which is not a really a big deal, right? We're not getting shot at, but at the same time, we just had to figure stuff out until because it was just almost like I mean it's kind of like chaos, right? There's stuff. Hey, your stuff got sent somewhere else, and we haven't found it yet, and but I mean, we kind of figured it out, right? It kind of just got us ready, and each deployment got a little bit more streamlined, and now it's probably just like clockwork now.
yeah. That's funny. Like, your tools didn't show up. But what are you gonna do, MacGyver? Right? When
Yeah,
stop working,
yeah,
right? Just
but
figure it out. That's what makes us Americans, right? Is
yeah.
we figure things out.
And luckily, I got brought up that way. It was like resourceful, right? Like we didn't have all the right tools, or I got to see my dad. Like he did a lot of like carpentry and stuff like that. Uh, and he just always figured shit out, man. Speaking of
Yeah,
kind of growing up in a household, it was just constantly changing. It was literally changing all the time. It was like a running joke with my friends. Like they show up and because my mom, dude, like I mean, she had a lot going. Love her, man. I love her, but she had a lot going on. And like one day she wanted a fucking open living room. The next day it was like, I want this closed. We're gonna put up a wall. We're gonna put a second story. It was always something different. And my poor dad, man, I would tell him like, you had to go to work to get a vacation, dude. And he worked outside. He worked on roofs, like in Texas, right? He also did that for the embassies around the world and stuff. So, either way, like he would come home from being on the roof all day, like sweating his butt off,
yeah,
and now he has to come and like work. And I was thrown in that mix, right? So, I
yeah.
mean, thankfully, I was able to because that taught me right like how to figure stuff out. But yeah, man. So what was that? What did they deploy you with those? With that Molly gear with the pocket sideways, or did y'all get
Yeah,
it
it was the
squared
first
away?
time we went somewhere. I didn't go into a combat area. Actually, we had to use them to go because I was in first group, right? So we were Asia Pacific. So for the first year, we didn't really do much. So I went to Thailand. I remember the first time I went to Thailand after 9/11, And it was really weird. Just we took the gear with us. It was a shooting package. So we went to go train the Border Patrol Police up in northern Thailand, Chiang Mai, place called Mae Rim, Mae Thang, Mae Rim. And we eventually just went away and we just didn't even wear the things, we just used our old stuff, they were they're junk, right? But it's funny you asked, like, I deployed right away from there, and it was just going into Thailand, dude, and seeing, like, in the market, I already have T-shirts made with Bin Laden's face on it and stuff, and the towers falling, and just capitalizing on it. But yeah, that gear, it never went to combat with us. We actually, some guys tore it off and just went to the rigger shed. We had parachute riggers, and they would just re-sew the stuff back on our stuff.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you like kept some for like well, probably not with the army, man. They make you turn everything
It's
back
probably
in.
in some museum somewhere.
Yeah. First gen.
First gen, with that guy's face who put it on, is like the
Yeah.
shame.
What, like, was there any like interactions from like from people from Thailand, like any type of sympathy other than like marketing?
Yeah, there was sympathy. I mean, they love, we're their number one partner when it comes to security and all that stuff. Us in China, it's weird,
Yeah.
But there's in those tourist markets, the night markets stuff, they're not going to dude, they are not going to miss a chance to capitalize on, either putting out the face of American flags and stuff, killing Bin Laden or having Bin Laden's face on there, like glorifying him. So when you went in those markets, with the T-shirts and all that stuff, there was a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
But overall, it was overall support for us. Yeah.
So so that's your first deployment, if you will, and then what was so you come back from that one, and then was that more like a training, or you say you were training like the locals, or what were you doing there?
The Border Patrol Police.
Border Patrol Police.
Yeah, they would patrol up and down. They were in charge of, they're called Dachida, Tamrut Dachida, which means police of the border, right? And they would just guard like the border between Burma, Laos, and Cambodia.
That's crazy. It's crazy to think about, like, how many different areas that we kind of responded to shore up any type of potential attacks, like around the world. And that's not something I think a lot of people factor in.
Well, Thailand was key, right? Only because they had the southern ties, right? Which is all predominantly Muslim, right? So they wanted, and if you go to Thailand, there's a lot of Muslims, and Islam's strong in Thailand, even though Buddhism's the primary religion there. Islam is strong there, especially in the south, and they have a lot of Al Qaeda. It's a big hub for terrorists, extremists, right? Same as the Philippines, which was the second place I went to right after Thailand. That was my first combat deployment, was the Philippines.
What was the difference like there, going from Thailand to the Philippines?
A lot different. Philippines, you got a little bit more of a threat, even in mainland Philippines. You got the NPA, the communist rebels up in the north, and then you got the Abu Sayyaf and Al Qaeda and all that stuff during that time down in southern Philippines, Mindanao, and at that time they had some Al Qaeda, the Abu Sayyaf, which was basically supported by Al Qaeda. They had kidnapped the Burnhams, Christian missionaries on the island of Basilan, and holding them hostage. So we were down there. We deployed there in support of the Filipinos to find them. But, due to the SOFA agreements, we weren't allowed to do any unilateral stuff. We knew where they were the whole time.
Yeah. And that's crazy, like, how many times, like, I've heard that, like, often, either through, like, podcasts or just, sidebar conversations, like, how many times that they knew where a person was the entire time, but they weren't allowed to move on it for
Yeah.
whatever reason.
Yep.
Um, and especially, like, kind of fast forward to today in Nigeria and, in different places, like, uh, the things going on, like, prosecution of Christians, and I
Mm-hmm.
mean, even like in China with the Uyghurs, I forgot how to say that. It's
Uyghurs.
I think Uyghurs, yeah.
Yeah.
So like a Muslim group, right, or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, either way, it's, I don't know. To go back to it, so you're going from Thailand to the Philippines, and it sounds like it's kind of like slowly like ramping up in the different like operations that you're a part of. So like, what did you learn from those first two?
Dude, I think that deployment was key in my foundation as a Green Beret. Um, that was the first time we had deployed there. We flew into Zamboanga. We actually did isolation and stuff. It was like a true special forces training operation where we went to Okinawa prior to flying into the Philippines, and we stayed in Okinawa for about 6 weeks from Fort Lewis to Okinawa, and we isolate, which normally that's what teams do, right? Nowadays they really don't isolate, right? But the true way to do it is the team gets together, all 12 guys, and they go in isolation, and you're cut off from communication from your family and everything before the mission. And you have this guy, an AST, he's like a support guy, and he's like your conduit to the rest of the staff in the outside world. The only people you communicate through is through him, right? And then you're given all your guidance from the commander, your mission, your MDM mission, uh, military decision making process, right? You're given all your intelligence, and your team comes up with the plan. And you come up with 3 different courses of action, and then you brief that to the commander, and then he finally says, "Yeah, I bless off on that." And then during that whole time, now once he blesses off on it, the team conducts training for your mission, right? The 18 Charlie, which was what I was at the time, the enlisted guy, was E6. I'm coming up with the load plan for our rucksacks, like cross loading C4, batteries, ammunition, what uniforms you're wearing. And I'm weighing everybody's stuff, radios. We cross load all the equipment because we go in light, right? No vehicles or anything. And then the communicator, he's coming up with his plan, like when we're going to make the shots and all that stuff, and his pace plan, like what radio systems for this, how many batteries he's getting, all that. The Bravo, he determines what type of ammunition, weapon systems we're bringing. The medic, he briefs everybody on the threats medically. He starts doing training, with us to make sure that we're all trained on how to, sustain each other and provide first aid and assist him in the event of a mass cow or something like that. So everyone's got their thing. And it was just key, man. We flew in to Zamboanga after that. We sort of isolated there, and then the 160th came in, and we did load plans and rehearsals to fly in from Zamboanga over the channel, which was like 15 miles into this small island. And we infilled into one little HLZ, and there was already like an Advon party there, and we landed. We got out, no lights or anything. We got in this perimeter, and we already had a area that we're supposed to go from there. So they gave us these 3 trucks. No, actually, we didn't have trucks. They drove us to our location in like these big, like 5 tons, right? And we
Uh-huh.
show up in our areas in this big coconut grove where we're going to build our camp. There was nothing there, dude. It was just a coconut farm, right? And they just drop us off, and we meet up there. We meet up with our partner force, which was Filipino Army, right? Infantry arm, not special forces dudes. It was a company, a battalion, minus. So we stood up there and we built our camp right there, man. We were there for 4 months before we switched out. And, I had a lot of money that I converted into Filipino pesos, a not fund. And I had a bunch of tools and stuff that I brought with me. And I hired local nationals and used some of the Army guys, and we built our camp. We had concertina wire brought in that we ordered, and it showed up, and we built our perimeter. It was amazing, because when I went through the Q course, I had this guy named Pappy Jones and Ernie Tabata. They were in Vietnam. Amazing dudes, right? Heroes, legends. And they wrote these books back then where it showed how to build a Special Forces A camp, And I use those books, man. How to build my protective fire zones, like A zone, my B zone, my C zone. How to set up the claymores. How to set up the concertina wire.
Whoa.
How to build the fight positions. All that. It was cool. And there was dangers. Like, dude, we set up a tent. We eventually got this tent. We set it up at GP medium, and that's where the talk was. And, and all of a sudden you hear a thump, and then you hear, ugh, coconuts falling from the trees, dude. Bouncing and going like a football, dude, and just taking dudes out.
Dude, man. I bet you the VA don't cover that.
Yeah, VA don't cover that stuff, man. And then, and we built our barracks out of coconut trees, old coconut. Yeah. And then we turned the coconut trees into coconut wood. And then all the walls were made out of palm fronds. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Did you use the land to build all your facilities, or was it okay?
Yeah, I did. Then I ordered a water tank because we're at a hill. And we couldn't get water. The closest clean water was 2 miles away. And we had a little village nearby, and the kids didn't go to school because they had to always go and get water for the parents. So what I did is, with my op fund, I ordered on the economy this big water tank, and then I ordered a centrifugal pump and a tractor motor and a bunch of pipe. I'd never done this before, dude, but somebody told me about it. So I went down to the stream, which was downhill, and I built 3 walls around it out of brick and stuff, 1,000 gallons of water. And then I put that pump right there, and I pumped water uphill.
Yeah.
And as it went uphill, I would drop water off in some of the water things in the village. So that allowed kids to go to school. And then we were the last people. We would get water in our tank. And what I did is I built a tower out of coconut lumber. In order to get that tank up there, I built this pulley system between 2 trees and a rope. And I pulled it, and we eventually got some vehicles. And we tied it to the pulley system. We used a vehicle to pull the tank up in the air and set it on the platform.
That's crazy.
But that
man.
won hearts and minds.
Yeah.
Right. So now I have this village that's loyal to me. Right. And now I have this second form of security. Right. That's informing me of, because we don't want the Americans going away, because that was a Christian village too. Right.
Yeah. That's pretty cool, man. That's stuff that I'm interested. I try to do now. I think I've kind of always been that way of trying to use whatever I can to build whatever. It's I remember in school, in high school or whatever, maybe middle school. They would, I forget what class it was, but they would give you these, I don't know, popsicle sticks and whatever, right? And you got to build something that seems impossible.
Yeah.
And you throw it together and you figure it out. And that's a cool exercise. But you were actually doing it in real world in a foreign country. with potential threats or more likely threats, right, in the area.
Yeah.
And how long did it take you to build all that out? Like,
About 4 months.
okay,
And, and I handed it off,
yeah,
to somebody else. And then it was just, I just, it was amazing, dude. It was just the amount of experience I learned from there for being just resourcefulness and how to communicate with people, right? How to
yeah,
get them to do something that I want them to do, without actually, like telling them, you
right,
know.
yeah. It's you're pretty much like you're coaching, right, as opposed to like demanding. And there's a place for like depending on what's going on. There's a time for that direction, but so you and I'm thinking about like you like. Did you take those books with you, or did you read them prior to, or is that like something that they hand
Nah, I
you
took
like
them with me.
every unit?
I took them with me.
You took them with you?
Yeah, they made them into like those little handbooks, man.
Okay.
Man, I think I have them somewhere. Because I was one of those guys who kept every little tiny thing. Like my
Yeah.
whole house is filled with like little trinkets. My wife's like, "Oh my god, I got to get rid of this." I'm like, "Do not throw my stuff away."
Yeah. Yeah,
You
Sandy's
know?
the same way. Like she gets rid of stuff. Like, I'm just like, why'd you get rid of that? Um, I joke. I say sometimes, like one of these days, I'm gonna end up on the curb, fucking
Yeah,
just hanging out. I would like to see that. If you have those books one day, man, I would love to see those because
yeah, man.
that's pretty cool. Just that like that knowledge is like gold in that situation, right? Because
Oh
you
yeah, and the
just
pictures were hand drawn, right? The examples and all that,
yeah.
they're hand drawn.
And these guys were your instructors, like in like SEER school or not SEER school, but like
Yeah, some of them were, but these guys were the instructors in the special my course, the Special Forces Engineer course, right? They were teaching demolitions, and like demolitions course, you had regular demolitions where you had, C4 and all that. You're doing calculations, building shape charges. But then we had improvised explosives, where we're making stuff out of freaking stuff you can find in your underneath your cabinet sink,
yeah,
you know.
that's crazy.
Like
I
we were
remember,
making the first IEDs before we were making IEDs before Iraq was making IEDs, and
yeah,
making sticky bombs.
sticky bombs. We're using sticky rice.
Yeah, sticky rice, man. And then learn how to make napalm, out of styrofoam.
Yeah. So you go to that one place, and then you go back, and then what do they send you next?
From there, man, it was like just like I went back to Fort Lewis, retrained a little bit, and then I redeployed my family. We moved to Okinawa, went on this one team called ODA 123. And from there, we got deployed to Iraq. We were the first team in first group to go to Iraq, and there my partner force was Koreans, right? So we were going to Iraq, not just to fight Iraq, fight over there, but also we were there to partner with the Koreans that were going there for the first time, right? We're
Koreans
going to
going to
help them
Iraq?
because they never deployed like that ever. So now we're going to there to be there. It was called the SIFLI, Special Forces Liaison Element, ROC SIFLI. And we deployed to Erbil in Kurdistan, Iraq. And then once we were there, we drove down to Basra, southern Iraq, and we drove a whole unit of Koreans up to their airfield up there in Erbil, which now the Koreans helped turn that thing into an international airport. Before it was just this airstrip.
Wow. Those are like completely two different
Yeah.
landscapes.
Yeah.
Like one's blinding and the other one's like, it's a
Jungle.
jungle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. And that mission was, pretty cool because we also, during that mission, we were advising them, but half our team was actually doing combat operations, working with sources, developing target packets, going hitting targets in Mosul, and then we had another team that I was working with that was living in the same team house. And so there I'm living now. I'm not in the jungle. I had a bunch of money when I arrived in Iraq, but I took over a team house from a 10th Special Forces team, but the team house wasn't really developed. So now we move into these two mansions in the middle of town, right across the street from each other. And so we had to build a perimeter around both mansions, and we had to hire our own personal guard force, right? Off the economy, and then we had to fortify the house.
Oh, that's crazy, man. Like it's crazy to hire a third party, which you're pretty much potentially bringing in a potential threat,
Yeah.
right? Because they're like on the economy, right? So it's there.
Yeah.
And like, what do you just start asking around, or like do you get some type of
Now
like
you hire a company
handbook?
that has it, but you vet
Okay.
guys, right? And you do a bunch of vetting,
Yeah.
and money talks, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Right?
mean, as you said, you showed up with a bunch of money.
Show up with a bunch of money, man. You can buy loyalty, right? It's just weird how that happens. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, especially there. I mean, there there's not really they don't get paid a whole lot.
Nah.
So any type of money north of that, of whatever they're getting paid,
Yeah.
is definitely substantially, more lucrative for them and their families.
Yeah,
What?
sometimes what you do when you get those guard forces, and I think this guard force sort of like work hand in hand with the local police, and you find your local police force that's sort of friendly to you and you hire them through them. So now you sort of got the hammer, right? You pay the local police who will pay them, right? So now if they screw up, the police are going to screw them up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So
So
there's kind of a checks and balances of.
some checks and balances.
How long were you there
That
for?
was a pretty cool place. That place, that team house.
What was cool about it?
Um, we'd have guys like support guys. We had some Air Force guys or Army guys come like babysit the house while we were gone. When we would go out and do a mission, and I'd come back, dude, and the support guy would be sitting in his chair, just like, "Hey, dude, you haven't moved." He's like, "I don't want to move." I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "We had the house wired to blow, man. Like, there's like all kinds of like det cord all over the place and explosives, and uh, there was things like I told him, don't touch this, don't touch that, and so he's there most of the time when they show up, they're like, first of all, they're like their eyes are wide open because they're leaving the big fire base the big base that they've been living on.
Yeah.
Now there's some special forces team house, so they pretty much do whatever they want, but they weren't listening when you gave them the house brief, right? So
Oh
now
shit.
I don't remember if he said to touch this or not, So
Yeah. So
yeah,
just
so we come
stuck in
back
one
a lot of
spot.
times they had never left the couch.
Dang. Just pooping in their own stuff.
Yeah.
How long were you like? Was it like a day, 2 days, weeks? Like how long did they have to stay there?
Sometimes they come for a week or a couple days.
Dang. Tactical house sitting.
Yeah, because sometimes we drive from Erbil into Mosul, which is 3-hour drive in there. We go to the AOB, stage out of there, hit some targets in Mosul, come back to AOB, debrief, come back a couple days, or we just drive up there near the border of Iran, up in the mountains, and stay for a week, do some recce.
What was that like? That first, like your first mission, like where you actually like took on fire and vice versa. Like what
It
was
was
going through your
gnarly,
head?
man. I think the first one. So the first one we got into in the Philippines, we were actually told we couldn't lead plan missions and go out in combat ops, but we could plan training missions. And our partner force would go with us, right? So we planned training missions in the Philippines close to where we thought the enemy was. And then we would train our guys in certain things so they could get near the enemy, right? And
Right.
we had the right of self-defense, right? So we planned. We were out there in the Philippines, and we were there for like 5 days out off the camp, and we were doing some reconnaissance training. And one of our elements that we trained got into contact with the Abu Sayyaf, and my team responded to them. And the lieutenant got shot in the head, grazed. He didn't get killed, but they killed a bunch of the Abu Sayyaf. And my team helped. They showed up and responded, and then they put the bad dead guys in some bonka boats and pushed them down this river down to the shore, down the river mouth. And I was there waiting to medevac, and then the medevac, the lieutenant, we were bringing in the helicopter. So that was the first time. We heard the gunshots and all that stuff. We were not too far away, and they came in initial contact. And then I jump in the truck with my team leader, and I didn't know there was a reporter in there from the Sun newspaper. He'd been hanging out with us, and on the radio, J-Lo and Ja Rule were playing, right, from the Manila. And I looked at my team leader, John Barrow, and I was like, "You ready to rock and roll?" Right? And that guy took that and put it in an article, right? And then so when I grabbed the wounded lieutenant and I'm running to the helicopter, he's hiding behind some bushes taking photos. And it's not in the firefight, but there's like this cow laying down on the ground, right? And there's a bunch of guys running behind me, and I'm carrying this lieutenant's got blood, and it looks like we're running out of a firefight, right? But it ended up on the front page of like USA Today, the Army Times, and we weren't supposed to really be doing combat ops, right? So I got counseled for that on the back of an MRE box. They emptied an MRE box, and they had to have something in paper, so they just wrote up this thing. I think my wife still has that. I have the article, but I think we still have the counsel statement.
Yeah, on the MR, what was it? Chili Mac?
I think it was like the 5 fingers of death.
Dang. Yeah. What was this is probably gonna be a dumb question, but I'm curious because they had like training camps, and I wonder if they had their own like type of uniform, like tactics. But like, was the fighting style similar from there to Iraq? Like
the Filipinos or Abu Sayyaf?
Abu Sayyaf.
Yeah, they all had different fighting styles, man. It was like non-existent.
Okay.
Right. They were just a lot of hit and run tactics, dude. A lot of IEDs. Never. I don't think I ever really encountered any like organized resistance.
Okay.
Which is maybe some of the. There was one time in Iraq in Sadr City where we got IED and I got ejected from the vehicle where there was a little bit of organized resistance, but overwhelming firepower ended that quickly.
Is that what that incident you wrote about the other day? You posted on Facebook.
Yeah. We were right there that day. So we used to I was the mobility sergeant major, right? The sergeant major came back from the site survey and he's like, "I need the biggest asshole, to be in charge of the mobility section." And he's like, "You're it." I'm like, I don't know if that's a compliment or not, but it turned out to be a blessing, man, because while everybody else was inside, safe behind hardened walls, I'm outside just slugging it out. And that's, as a Green Beret, that's what you want. You want to go and slug it out. I would ride on the back in the middle of the convoy, on the back tailgate, facing backwards, right? And then we'd drive like offset from each other, 5 meters off each other's bumper, 7 to 14 vehicles under nods with jammers on, hauling ass, dude. And the enemy most time couldn't see us. We'd hear us and we'd just pass. It was too late. And we only got hit twice. Two of the troops got hit twice, once each. So my troop got hit once, and then the other troop got hit once. And mine was EFP went off before we actually hit the EFP. It went off early, and my vehicle went into the crater, and then stopped immediately. Me and a guy named Matt Turner, our medic, got thrown into the backside of the vehicle, like the cab, and we hit like the turret and stuff. And I got out, I got up, I was dazed a little bit. The Iraqi gunner, he ate the 240, so he's screaming because all his teeth are like everywhere, And then my mindset was like, well, stop your freaking crying, suck it up. We're getting shot at,
Yeah.
I run, grab the sling leg off the front bumper of the other Humvee, put it around mine, yank my vehicle out of the crater, and my jammer's on. So now I got to make a SAT call, right? Or just a radio call. So I reach in through the driver's side door, and I'm standing on the outside. The Humvee doors are like Up Armor Humvee doors are heavy, like 300 pounds, So I open it, holding it, and I reach in and turn the jammer off. And as soon as I turn the jammer off, another explosion goes off and throws me out of the vehicle. But, then that's when it turned into the 360 shower of death, from my whole element, dude. Just everybody with a machine gun and gun, just like shooting everything 360 degrees. But we eliminated the threat, and we kept moving to the objective. My vehicle limped. I had gone to the Humvee AM General, of course, where they make the Humvees. And I think it's, where's Notre Dame at?
Michigan, I think. Is it Michigan?
Yeah, it's one of those places, right? But I went to that course and learned how to do like some combat repairs to get home, and that helped, man. So we went, hit the target, got the objective, jackpot, and then limped home for 30 miles, and the vehicle died right there, home base.
Dang. Like, prior to a mission, like, would you guys, was prayer a thing then, like, for you?
Nope. No. Every once in a while.
Yeah. Was there ever like a time where you just like considered it?
I wasn't religious at the time, man.
Yeah.
I was anti-religion. I wasn't like atheist.
Right.
I was born Catholic. I was raised Catholic, baptized Catholic. I believed in God. Right. I think every once in a while, in a gnarly time, I'd say, God, to myself, like, just help us get out of it. But I didn't pray, didn't go to church, didn't read the Bible.
Yeah. Same thing. I didn't. Yeah, I was brought up with it pretty staunchly. Wasn't allowed to question. And then that kind of turned me away from it. But was there ever like a time, like, aside from combat, like, was there any places that you ever walked into where it felt off, like there's something not right here, but you
Like
couldn't
evil?
see anything? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever experience that?
Iraq. Thailand.
What, like, what was it, like a building?
No, like
the
whole
land?
cities.
Oh, wow.
Whole cities in Thailand. Like Pattaya. Dude, I'm not saying I am not an angel.
Right. Nor am I.
And God's working overtime, dude, to forgive my sins. Right.
Me too. Yeah.
Pattaya was just pretty. Pattaya is filled with the devil. Thailand is. There's amazing people that are out of Thailand, right? That are Thais, but there's whole cities there that are dedicated to just sex, the sex trade, human trafficking. And then, Iraq was just some of those torture chambers, that we would come across, just um, Afghanistan, just seeing how they treat their women, like dogs, a lot of these places,
Yeah.
man, I just felt evil.
Yeah. I've asked that to a number of guests, and some of them whether because I've felt that not in those type of places. I have felt it like in like different countries and stuff, but like I've actually felt it like in where I wake up in the middle of the night and there's something in the room, like
Oh yeah.
and that's kind of one of the things that's kind of brought me back to like peel back the layers of because like when you're doing any type of work, right? Like and you're trying to like figure out your stuff, like you go and you think you go to the one thing that you think that caused it, right? And yes, that was part of it. But then you keep peeling back the layers, and for me, it was like childhood, right? Like what was that about? What happened there? Like, because we don't know what we don't know. Like it's just is what it was, right? But on top of that, part of that was religion, right? So and kind of like zooming out and then trying to understand this bigger thing and like what like really try to understand like how that shaped me, and then couple of those things, those experiences where the only thing that took that thing out of the room was prayer. Like
Yeah.
no matter other things that I tried or considered, like that's what I leaned on and that's what took it out of the room. But there was that primal fear. Like there's a fear of like another human, right? And that's but a primal fear of like there's something here that I can't see and I know it's looking at me and I know it's there. I don't know what it is, but like internally it's just like that. Like even now I'm kind of like, you know?
Yeah. No, I recently had a journey that I
Mhm.
did on my own. And I was listening to music and I had to wake up. I had to like open my eyes, take the covering off my eyes, man, because I was seeing some stuff, and I believe that the prayer got rid of it. Um, I think I was listening to a podcast the other day, the Sean Ryan podcast, where the guy's talking about exorcisms.
Mm. The
And
father?
yeah.
Like
Oh no,
he's
he's
just
like a former Marine Corps guy,
okay,
pilot.
I haven't
He's
heard
an
that one yet.
assistant, he's an exorcist assistant.
Okay, I haven't
It
heard that
just
one
came
yet.
out.
I'll go.
You gotta watch it, man. It's talking about angels, demons, and ghosts. Right? And he's like, basically, demons are fallen angels, right? And these angels had like a mission set, like just like in special forces. Like me, I was an engineer, so this angel, his mission set is marriage. When he was an angel, his mission set was to be an angel of marriage, specializing in marriage, right? But once he becomes a fallen angel, his mission set inverts, and it's the opposite. Now his primary mission is to destroy marriage,
Mm.
right? But to get back to that, it's like I feel like a lot of my demons inside of me, like my suicidal ideations in 2012, my depression, anger. I felt like there was something. It wasn't me, right? Because I would be happy on the outside, but I'd be screaming on the inside. And I've been thinking about it in the last week or so. Like, I think it was, and so a lot of people, what they say is what he was saying is a lot of people become like sort of possessed, right? By generational sin,
Mm.
right? And also sin that you do. And you may not know it, but you may be doing some type of sin is it's almost like opening a door
Mhm.
or a wound to where those demons can come in, and you open this door to be possessed by these demons, right? And now you've got this angel, this demon within you, just sort of corrupting you, right? And the only way to get rid of it is like by prayer.
Mm-hmm.
and walk in that narrow path.
Yeah, it's yeah, man. It's I need to listen to that podcast, but there's also another podcast that I'll send you. It's called the Confessionals. I think that's what it's called. And there's a guy that talks about like how he got really bad into his addiction, him and his wife, and he just goes down like this rabbit hole of what he experienced, how he saw it, and so it's kind of alluding into that. He talks about that, like
Yeah.
allowing those chinks in the armor to kind of allow other things in, right? Of the spirit of the soul, and I think that's where we've lost that in our society because what was it Nietzsche that said like God is dead? There's more to that quote, but how Western medicine kind of started to address the body like the mechanical imagery of a body, right? Um, but we lost like the spiritual side of it, right? Of what we actually are and like how that could be affected. And I believe we're coming around to it because of how crazy stuff is now. And there's like this great awakening, if you will, people coming back to God and Jesus, me included in that. And I do trust me, dude. I've gone down like the many different philosophies and ideologies of or religions as well and considered them and looked into them, but at the end of the day it brings me back to this one, right? It brings me back to Christianity
Mm-hmm.
because of the research I've done, and for the most part, and then like couple that with my experiences, right? Like feeling that evil and like understanding like that's the only thing that took it away, man, was prayer. And if this was me, like if I could see myself talking the way I'm talking now, like 15 years ago or so, I'm like, get out of here, dude. Like, what are you talking about? Like what happened to you, but it's like, and I feel kind of bad, man. Cause I like whenever my kids would ask me what I thought about God and stuff, like, I mean, I told them like, I didn't know, I'm still searching, cause that was my honest answer. But I do feel bad that perhaps that led them in a different like path. I mean, I continue to pray for them now and anybody else, but um, yeah, man, there's I'm like again, like we've been sharing those text messages and stuff, man. I appreciate that because I've been doing it on my own, but it's good to do it as a with other people that you respect and know and kind of hold you accountable and vice versa. But evil is definitely real, man, and it's tying it to those experiences you had in Iraq, Afghanistan, and the Philippines, or was it you said Philippines or Thailand?
Yeah. Both.
Both. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it exists
Yeah. I've
everywhere,
seen.
man.
I've seen. Oh, dude, Burma. I mean, um, Bangladesh. Huh, bro, evil, evil. Like going in the traffic circle, dude, and like you see a family. We all have broken legs that are broken the same way, right? And their legs are healed and like sitting in like the Indian leg style, right, cross-legged,
Mm-hmm.
and they got tires made out of gloves, made out of tires, and tires made out of butt things so they can scooch around. And they do this so they can make money. So you feel sorry for them and donate money to them. That's evil, dude. Who does that,
Dang.
right?
The whole family.
The whole family. There's like families, and
Yeah.
then there's families of people with freshly cut off arms, you know,
Do
and
they cut them off themselves, or does somebody
yeah,
do that?
or their handlers cut them off. Now they're indentured to them, right? So now they wake up in the morning, like go out with your little fresh wound and go walk up to a car with tourists in
Oh,
it and just make them feel bad and grab money. That's evil,
yeah.
right?
That's one of the things I heard about on that confessional podcast was that guy was talking about. It was like demons will have you defile yourself or others because that's their mission, right? Is
Submission,
to
chaos.
defile what God gave you or created
Yeah,
for you, is to
yeah,
defile that because you by by default, you're like defiling God, right? Because you're God's child or creation of God.
But
Yeah, I actually had to stop listening to that podcast. It got intense quick, man. I was like, dang. Because
yeah,
at the same time, dude, I used to watch like scary movies all the time. That was just part of my culture. Ghost adventures, ghost hunts, all kinds of stuff, right? Not understanding what that was, but it was interesting how I would be okay to acknowledge that side of it, right? Because I grew up on the house I grew up in, there was like, you would hear things, you would hear like footsteps and stuff. So it was naturally, I was kind of like, I don't know, curious about it, right? But then it was just convenience because I was willing to acknowledge like that one side, right? Like, oh yeah, evil exists and like the scary, creepy kind of stuff. It was kind of exciting. And not willing to consider the other side, right? Well, if that exists, then good has to exist, right? God has to
yeah.
exist, right? Like, and so whenever you would see that, like, how would you interpret that? Like, what lens would you see that through if you didn't have?
Back then, I didn't really think like that. I wasn't saved, right? I was like sort of a shell of a person, dude. I felt like, yeah, I'm a Green Beret, I'm American, I'm an officer in the U.S. Army, I'm doing good things out here, winning hearts and minds, but my purpose is to, defend democracy at home and abroad. But yeah, that was it, right? But now that I think about it, I was a shallow F, right? I was a lost soul, dude, right? It wasn't really doing anything that I was doing for the glory of God, for his glory. I wasn't building disciples. Hey, man, I was setting a good example. I was, for my guys being a leader, as a good leader, but was I really a good leader? Here I am drinking, not really, I was sort of empty. It wasn't really there for my family, right?
Yeah,
They weren't first. It was work, me, and then them, you know. And I'm surprised I'm still married to the same woman that I married in the beginning, right? My daughter, she's not well off. She's got some issues. I'm raising her daughter. My son, he's a E6 promotable jump master, but he's got some issues from when I wasn't home, when he
yeah,
was in high school. You know, um, I had emotions. Well, no, okay. I knew what emotions were. I knew that, for instance, an example, like someone was telling me, say I'm on mission and I come home and my wife has a baby, right? I go to the hospital, pick up the baby. I'm like, yep, I know this is what normal people do. I love this baby. It's my kid. I love it. I'm supposed to say that. Okay, here's the baby to the range, right?
mm,
I didn't feel that agape love, right? It was that sense of that like action, right? That like, I know that I love this baby because I made this baby. It's a child of God, right? That I'm going to have to pay, I'm going to have to protect it, provide for this baby, right? It's going to be a part of me. I'm going to, bring it up. And not until recently, dude, that I've been actually learning how to feel emotion and know what they are, you know, um,
yeah,
really since I had cancer, or not even when I really even started, the nonprofit, right? I was saved in 2018, but I wasn't really walking the narrow path, dude, until after cancer. You know, uh, I was I'm a good person. And I was, but still, I don't think I was as I and I stood up nonprofit for good reasons, right? I'm an honest guy. I don't steal or anything like that, but I think I was still, I just don't know. I just don't think I was that right guy, even when I started a nonprofit in 21,
yeah, yeah, man. I mean, what you said. I mean, I didn't experience what you've experienced, but I have similar like experiences with my kids. Like I wasn't there for them or their mom and I, or I got divorced early on when they were born. I was there for my kids financially, but not physically. I spent all my money and everything, my time, leave, etc., to see them, be in their lives as much as I could be. But I wasn't like fully there either. I was detached. Um, I was more about the mission and what we were doing because I think that was more. It was easier, right? It was easier to deploy almost, um, to be gone, to be feeling important. Um,
Yeah.
and
Ego,
and
pride.
yeah, and in the back of my mind, it's like, why I got to do this to provide for them, right? Financially, right? Like this, they're getting medical, they're getting this, they're getting that, right? And they're good to go. They'll be fine without me. Not understanding like what that does, like child psychology not being there, those key moments and stuff like that. And I mean, that's just my side of it, right? In the way of like my me not being there, me owning like that part of it. But even when my daughter was born and stuff like that, like yes, I did the same things, and it changed me a little bit, but like it didn't, not enough to be where I'm at now, right?
Yeah.
And the more, it sounds cliche, but the more like I understand in myself and from childhood to now, and the more I kind of let stuff go, the more I'm able to, like, sound cheesy as hell, but love myself. And then the more I love myself, I can love others. But furthermore, the more I understand God, like the more I could uh love others and see others, like try to see others through his eyes, right? And it's a process, man. And I think we are where we're at today in the way that perhaps it was meant to be, right? Because how can we ever appreciate what we've gone through, or how can we ever appreciate uh our experiences if, or like where we're at now, if we didn't go through what we went through? Um
Yeah.
does that make sense?
No, it makes complete sense.
Um but I think that's where grace comes in, right?
Yeah.
Um, and honestly, dude, like I haven't talked to my son in a while, or he hasn't talked to me in a while, I should say. Um, and that's convoluted, but because of that, because of this, like, made me like appreciate God, man. Because I've always told him, like my kids, like, I want you here all the time, but if you don't want to be here, I don't want you to be here. Like, I don't want you to feel like obligated to be here. And because of that situation, it made me like, I'm like, dang, that's what God is, right? Like, he's there, but he's not gonna make you be there. That's what free
Yeah.
will is, right?
Free
So
will.
you know what I mean? So that's what helped me appreciate like that crappy situation. Helped me appreciate and understand a father's love on a, I guess, a spiritual and cosmic level, I guess.
Yeah, and just like the parable of the prodigal son,
Uh,
where the father gives his land to their inheritance to the three sons. Two of them go and do something good with it. The youngest goes and spends it on whores and hookers and all that stuff, and then he ends up working. There's a famine, and he ends up working for his dad's servants. And in a pig farm. And he's like, well, you know what? I can't believe I'm working for my dad. People who work for my dad. I got to go home. But he's afraid to go home because he's afraid, he's going to tell his dad he sinned and wasted his inheritance, you know. And as he's walking up, he's like ready for his dad to like blast him. And his dad's standing there and sees him. And his dad runs and hugs him. Right. And he's like, Dad, how can you love me when I've sinned and wasted everything? He's like, I love you.
yeah, yeah,
And just like Ephesians 2, 4, verses 4 and 5, right? It says like, but But because of his great love for us, God, who is rich in mercy, made us alive with Christ, even when we were dead in our transgressions. It is by grace you have been saved, right?
Yeah.
Like he's our father, right? He loves us. He forgives us, right? He sacrificed his own son for us. So when we fall down, what do we fall down so fast, our hands aren't even able to stop us. We fall down face first. And what do we fall down into? A pillow of grace,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you don't have to be perfect to be saved, right? And for him to, to love you.
Yeah. And going back to it, like, I think it's one of the common adopted ideas of the masses that got away from God, or because they used to justify it. And I say that because I used to do that as well. I adopted the idea of that, well, that message, like,
Can you
people.
hear my dog barking?
Yeah, I can hear him. I can hear him.
Can you give me 1 second?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
that's the
man.
first
Yeah,
time he's
go ahead.
ever howled.
It's probably because we were talking about this. That's crazy. That's freaking crazy. Not surprising, but it's crazy.
She's never howled like that. Remember, and they don't like it, dude, when you start talking about the Lord,
Yeah, man.
right? They
That's
freak out, especially when you worship, right? When you worship and sing, because, dude, I don't even listen to secular music anymore.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
I've been getting further and further away from it. Like, I listen to Hawaiian music, but I
Yeah.
can't listen to the same music that I used to.
I got to listen to my Maui country music, right?
Yeah,
Hawaiian country, because he sings about some good stuff,
yeah, but yeah, as I was saying, and that's crazy. It's not surprising, because that's not the first time that's happened. That's happened many times. Not always on a podcast, but like when I'm talking to Sandy or somebody or whatever, there's always some like wild interruption that happens. I don't. I used to say coincidence, but there's no coincidences. But yeah, it's I used to the adopted idea that, like, people that, like, well, I know so many people in church that, like, that claim to love God, but they do all this evil and stuff. But understanding, like, so that was an idea that I used to adopt, and I would be like, well, I'm not going to believe in that because of the people not understanding that it's the people. It's the people that can be manipulated and that infiltrate the church, right? Going back to demons,
Yeah.
infiltrate the church and uproot it, right, from within, by corrupting the men. And
Yeah.
but yeah, man, it's like the more I peel back the layers, the more I discover, and it's cool to be able to have this discussion. And that's one of the reasons, one of the prompts for this podcast. Yes, it is stuff that people have gone through, but one of the things I've learned is I've interviewed people, and I didn't expect them to kind of give me their testimony, but they did, and I just kind of let it go where it goes. And
Yeah.
so yeah, man, it's so. You said you were saved in 2018. Like, how did that come about?
Well, to make it really quick, it's like, 20 years, since 2000, I was severely abused as a kid, mentally, physically, chained to beds. I have some, I don't remember, but I have these vague memories that maybe some other type of abuse, I'm still delving into that. But, drugs as a kid, never went to high school, and then combat, since 2001, lost a few guys, friends. Lost one of my last teammate on my last mission, and then just that constant deployment cycle. I was suicidal in 2012, you know, uh, and then a bunch of traumatic brain injuries just from being a breacher and some falls from a helicopter and stuff. So I was about to start a pistol, man, in Okinawa in 2012, and I started surfing, right? And then ended up moving to Hawaii and surfing more there, and things just started changing. I ran into a good friend of mine named Keith Payne. and I taught him how to surf, and then in turn he was like, "Hey, why don't you come to church with me?" Started going to church with him, and I wanted to really get my daughter, she was second grade at the time, but I wanted to get her involved in church, because I just seen with the woke ideology coming, right? I was like, I have to really pour into her, right? I seen what happened to my daughter by bringing her from being raised on a military base overseas, culture shock back in the States, and me being deployed. I didn't want what happened to my daughter to happen to her daughter, and so it affected me, man. I asked to be baptized. It changed my life, but not until after I really got cancer. And I was like, God, I really need you. I want to make it to where cancer doesn't mean I have cancer in a chokehold, right? I'm effing cancer. Cancer's not effing me.
Yeah.
And then I've been on antidepressants and all that stuff lately. I mean, since 2016, I think. And I didn't really know what I was taking. I trusted my doctors. I went in for focus, and they gave me like the max dosage of bupropion right away. And I tried coming off them a couple of years ago, and I started having suicidal thoughts, and like talking to myself and all this stuff. I told my counselor therapist, and she's like, "What about the bupropion? How's that going?" I was like, "I stopped taking that a couple months ago." And she's like, "That's why." So I went back on it, but it wasn't working. It just felt like I was spiraling, dude. And I just started going to church again, right, and feeling a lot better. And then I did actually a couple psychedelic retreats, and I wasn't looking for it, but I had a religious experience, just real short, as I saw a couple of my buddies that I've been grieving over, and I saw them sitting next to a throne, and somebody that we talk about a lot there, and they just basically said, "It's not your time. We're hanging out. We left when we had a script. We left when we were supposed to, right?
Oh.
But stop freaking out. Chill out. When it's your time, there's a spot here for you, and it's been amazing since then. Just even more amazing,
Yeah, I've done the pharmaceuticals as well, man. Bupropion, sertraline. It's about 8 meds, dude. And same thing, like I think it made me worse. I think it would cause my suicide attempt. And I mean, granted, I was still drinking, because that was the legal thing, right? But then I've told you about this before. And I've talked about this on there before, but I just didn't know where I was anymore in the way of like what my baseline was. And I was like, I knew it wasn't like a permanent thing, right? So I asked the VA to help me, and they didn't want to. They advised against it, so I just did it on my own, and that sucked. Fast forward, I did have on my own uh, psilocybin journey, and that again, I wasn't looking for it either. The way it came about was it's kind of unbelievable, honestly. But I was in the tub, just kind of. This is prior to me even getting the mushrooms or anything. Uh, I was in the tub taking a bath, kind of just laying there, meditating, if you will, just kind of just being in the water, just chilling. And then I the same voice I hear now. It's not like a audible. It's like, I guess, the still small voice. Maybe it's the Holy Spirit. That's what I think it is. I'll say that because it's led me here. Uh, it said to abstain. This is the words they use: abstain from alcohol, which I wasn't drinking anyways. Alcohol, weed. It didn't say weed. It said cannabis, coffee, anything like, and because you're gonna take a trip, like, I think it was like in 12 or 14 days. I forget what it said. 15 days. It was very specific. It was strange. Um, I got out of the tub. I didn't know what it meant. I thought like maybe I was considering doing like the heroic hearts ayahuasca
Yeah.
retreat, but I just never did the application. I was like, well, I can't go anywhere. My passport's not renewed at the time. But anyways, fast forward, I was interviewing a guy for a podcast, and we're just talking about like the rewiring of synapses with microdosing, etc. And then like he was like, "I got you," whatever. I didn't know what that meant. Long story short, it all worked out. He gave me mushrooms, um, and then the time I did the journey, Sandy went out of town. It was like the exact amount of days from the day that I was told from that, and that,
Wow.
yeah, it's crazy, dude. And that experience was like a 30,000 foot view and gave me a um like kind of walked me through my life and kind of showed me like different perspectives of why the things happen the way they happen and why like all these things, right? And it kind of it left me changed, man. Um and yeah, and it led me here, man. And I continue to pull back the threads. There's a book I'm reading right now. It's about the immortality key. I think I told you about it. And it's talking about like the times of like the Eucharist, right? Where
Yeah.
psychedelics was used in the wine, right? The wine that was allegedly at the I'm not done with the book, but the Last
Yeah.
Supper, all types of references in there. And I do wonder if Jesus on the Temple Mount, when he says, "Blessed are those that believe and have not seen," you know. And I was like, I wonder if that's like a I don't know, like a glimpse or maybe a hint at like the people that didn't have this experience, but they still believe, right? They,
Yeah.
you know, but either way, I'm still peeling back the layers on it. There's a ton of references, and it's like a science approach. It's a historical approach. It's going through all the the frescoes of like under the Vatican, and it's going
Yeah.
to Greece and Turkey and all these. Like the book kind of takes you on this journey and has all these references. I was even like with a water bottle because I couldn't find my magnifying glass, looking at the pictures in the book to see like all the representation of the 12 apostles right on these frescoes, and like one of the
Yeah.
apostles is standing like on a mushroom. It's crazy, dude. It's crazy. And I feel like that was stripped away because in the book it talks about that people were abusing it. Uh, People were abusing it like in cemeteries and stuff like that, not respecting
Yeah.
it with the reverence it has. And then I think also like I feel like man, or like this is my own idea, or my theory on it, that like the church and like the Vatican, they became pretty much came the government, and they kind of wedged themselves between people and God, you know, like that personal experience. And like, so like confessions and all that stuff was a way to keep a track on people and like what was going on, you know, so the church knew if there was any uprising or heresy or
Yeah.
whatever. But so naturally you would take that out as well because you don't, you want, it boils down to control, right? Control, power, things like that. And we're all corruptible on some level, I feel, but that's why we can't do it alone, right? We got to do it with God, Jesus to kind of
Yeah.
guide us, Holy Spirit to guide us on
The
what we're
worst
doing
thing
and what.
somebody can say is, "I got this."
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
man, yeah.
So my pastor says, like, "Yeah, you ain't got this." Right? Show the quickest way to defeat is saying, "I got this."
I used to think that like believing in God was easy. Like it was easy to like, oh man, it's like you could just blame it all on or put it on something else, and like there's no accountability there. There's no accountability with it, but it's the opposite. It's freaking hard. It is hard to just let go and trust and not want to take vengeance on somebody for doing this or that, right? Or
Yeah.
like to relinquish control of your life to an extent, you know?
Yeah. Yep. No, that's having faith, right? What is fear, man? Fear is just misplaced faith, right? It's, faith and fear and worrying, that's just misplaced faith,
Yeah.
right? If you think about it, if you just have that faith and just put all your worries and anxieties and your fears in his hands, things just happen, but we're human, right? And it constantly creeps back in, right? And
I'm still learning to
it's
do
just,
that, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, man, is like the more that you become sanctified, right? In your sanctification process, right? And you start becoming more, like working your way to walk this thing narrow path as Christ, right? It becomes harder to be a Christian, right? Because you're going to be attacked from all sides, you know?
Dude,
And
and that's
things are like ultra clear now, right? Like in the morning when I pray, there's a part of my prayer where I say, God, please grant me the gift of guilt, right? So I feel guilty when I sin immediately, so guilty that I pray right away for forgiveness. I can't tell you how many times I'm asking for forgiveness, dude, in a day, right?
you and I
Like
both,
I'm
dude.
trying not to cuss, right? But
Yeah.
probably once every hour, I've got to at least say, please, God, please forgive me for saying that,
Yeah.
right? But I'm trying, right? So
And that's one of the things like I'm trying to cut out cursing as well. It's it was almost like a second language to me.
my buddy told
But
me the other day it's a character flaw, right? And when he said
yeah,
that, I was like, ooh, God, ow, right? Because I pride myself on being having good character, you know?
yeah, yeah. I try not to curse as well. Um, but yeah, man, it's and I think another thing that our society kind of just highlighted, like why, and I've talked about this before, like why is it the only religion that is chastised, is made fun of? Like it's kind of the same thing. It's not allowed to be talked about. It's yeah, man, it's mocked like that. I
Do you
can't
want to know
think of
why?
that.
You want to hear Rick's opinion on it? And from what
Yeah, man,
I've heard,
sure.
it's because it was another conversation I had with my buddy, right? It's because those people want to be like us, like Christians, like people who are following Christ, right? It's easier for them to mock us than to actually walk that path. They want to walk that path, but they don't have that intestinal fortitude, man, that internal strength to do it, right? Right? Like part of my, I stole this from some guy on the internet, right? It's called Forged, right? His mantra: F for faith, O for ownership, R for real and raw authenticity, you know, G for give, E for earn, and D for discipline. But real and raw, dude. Like I don't really freaking care what you think of me, right? When I used to think that, right? Like being Christian was sort of like being like some guy who's got to dress in loafers, and go in and, you know, if I'm going to
Yeah.
raise my hand to God, and pray to do it like this or real low so people don't see me. Go to my church, dude. You got dudes in like real tree, dudes in surf gear, dudes in Harley Davidsons, F-350s, Porsches, guys coming up on e-bikes. And they're all, majority of them are packing guns, right? But they're all got their hands up, dude, like reaching for the sky, dude, singing, right? That's manly. I look at it, that's masculine, dude. Right. But also it's the devil, dude. Right. Satan and demons, dude, is when you worship God out loud and when you speak the gospel, it pisses him off. Right. He's pissed. And what he's doing is he's using his influence on others to try to influence us not to do that. But what you should do in turn is speak louder and sing louder, right? And wear your cross out loud, wear a hat, right? You know, that's why I bought a bunch of hats. I bought my cross. My buddy made me a bracelet, right? I'm unapologetically a Christian man,
I
right?
got this a while back, and
yeah, I love it.
I got it like years ago when I really didn't. I guess I did believe, but it was just when I was getting a tattoo. I couldn't think of what else to get.
But you should.
But that's why.
But you should like. It's like and by far, man, I am not a Christian scholar, right? I still have a hard time finding books in the Bible. I don't know scripture. I've got to actually, I got to study and print things out, and I have them all in my journal, that I journal every day. I read, I read every morning. I'm still like on day 7. I started when we went to UHP together, reading the Bible, right, every day. But I stopped for like 3 months, but now I restarted, so I'm still reading. I'm still in the trying to read the whole Bible.
Yeah.
But that doesn't, just because I'm not a Bible scholar and stuff doesn't mean I'm not a good Christian, right? And I'm trying to be, but back to your question, like, why do we get mocked? It's because they see that we're living that life and trying to do right, and they can't do it, right? And and when they mock us, dude, it sort of gives them that authority to do what they're doing, and they know what they're doing. The child traffickers, dude, right? Gamblers, murderers, people who just are living in sin, right? It gives them that it's okay, right? But down deep inside, dude, they know they're wrong, right? They know that they're wrong, living in massive sin. I don't know. That's Rick's opinion.
Yeah, right? That's a fair point. But I think for me, it just made me. So it's like when somebody goes out and they say like, "Oh, don't listen to that. Don't listen to this," or like, "Hey, this is false information." Like what it does is it makes people like, "Well, let me listen to it for myself. Let me see what this is about." And so when that was just another like data point, and like I really need to like peel back the layers on this religion, like something that kind of shaped me growing up, and understand it for myself, because it's like, yes, you're trying to mock and say that this is not accurate, and you're like, whatever, it was like the reason for all these deaths and all these things, right? But it just makes people like want to pay, like, to discover it more for themselves. Like it's doing the opposite of what they're trying to do, is what my point is. And I've been like trying to zoom out since I retired from the military as much as I can to understand like this existence, right? And this, like, from everything from like space or like, interstellar, whatever, like to quantum physics, quantum mechanics, as much as I can, right? Like, granted, I'm not the smartest person in the room by any means, but I think it all like paints a picture to something bigger, and that is like God creationism. There was even a book that I started to read. It's dry, dude. It's called it's by Stephen Meyer, and it's Darwin. It's called Darwin's Doubt, and he pretty much picks apart Darwinism and like the evolution theory, because at the very basis of it, like, it should have never have been accepted by academia, but it was. And He
Yeah.
goes into it all, and that was pretty fascinating. I've heard him on a few different podcasts go into it. And to go back to your point about the devil not wanting us to talk about this, your dog, dude, like
That is
that
the
was the
first time, dude, she has ever howled like that. Or
yeah.
bark. Dude, she's got a shock collar on,
So
right?
she wouldn't bark.
It's not shock. It buzzes and it
Yeah.
goes, right? It's not going off. And it's on sensitive one, right? Right?
So
She hasn't barked in the last couple, like 3 or 4 days. But as soon as we started talking about that,
yeah. Was there someone outside or anything?
no, everyone's gone.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Hey, can I go to the bathroom real quick?
Yeah, dude, go. You go. I'll go. I
Okay.
gotta go too. Yeah. All right, man. So we're back.
Yeah, man.
So you got saved in 2018. Started Task Force Hydro, and I gotta say, man, like that that was the first time that Sandy and I have ever done anything like that, like the 50-mile paddle, and
Yeah.
it was super cool to experience that world, right? And thank you for inviting us, and then your buddy Eddie allowing us to stay in his place on the beach. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, man, that the whole experience with getting trained up by the goat, as you call him.
Yeah.
Um,
Lewis
and
Laughlin.
yeah, man, I never been to St. Augustine before, and it was a cool experience, dude. Are y'all doing that again this year?
Yeah, May 2nd.
May 2nd. I don't know if we'll be able to make it this year, but
Yeah. May 2nd. It's a busy time, man. March, April, May for us. We got a race down in Fort Pierce, and then we're going to Tahiti for a week in April, and then for a race, and then that race right there. It's not really a race; it's a voyage.
so for the folks that don't know, they're probably like, "What are you talking about?" Like, I mean, I got a small video talking about Task Force Hydro when we're down there. But what is Task Force Hydro, and why did you start it, and where do you?
Yeah, in a nutshell, Task Force Hydro One Main is basically a nonprofit that uses surfing and Hawaiian outrigger paddling to have an alternative means of mental health, right, and physical health. We use the water to suppress suicidal ideation, build a community, have that ohana, so we can lean on each other, and use the power of water to heal, other than using medicine,
Yeah,
drugs, pharmaceutical drugs.
it's crazy too how you said you started surfing, and then your buddy kind of introduced. So you started surfing. Um, I forgot where you were at first, and then you went to
Okinawa.
Hawaii, Okinawa. Then you went to Hawaii,
Yeah.
and then that kind of started to kind of bring an awareness or connection, I guess. And then your other buddy kind of introduced you to taking you to church.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Water was just, whenever I had a problem and I would go surfing, problems were on the beach. He and myself were right there, right with nature. And I didn't have no problems on the water,
yeah,
right? I wasn't sad or anything, but as soon, it would last when I come off the water, my good mood would last for another 24 hours and I'd go surfing. It got to be a problem, a good problem.
yeah,
And so much so that I started a nonprofit, which, it's amazing. Yeah.
yeah. And how
We
long?
built a pretty good community here.
Yeah, and that's one thing I felt when we were there was the closeness, just like that little barbecue you guys had beforehand,
Yeah.
and everyone was just kind of hanging out. It felt really cool to be a part of it. And then you share with me on the message where people would just show up at your house with like food, and they just start hanging out.
Yeah.
I like to
Especially when I had
build.
cancer, dude. It was just like, you know, it was just whenever one of us is sick, we always show up at the hospital or something, or, at the house.
What was that? I know it probably sucked, but like, what was that journey like? Like having like cancer.
It was it sucked. It was painful, right? I wasn't worried about it, because I knew that I was gonna live, you know. Um, the biggest thing for me was the inactivity. I mean, I worked out the entire time. Wasn't supposed to. I had to put a feeding tube in, just so I could keep the weight on, just force feed food in me. I lost a lot of weight still, but it sucked, having third-degree burn feeling in your throat, losing all my taste buds and the saliva glands, right? I still choke on like dry food, you know.
Yeah.
But it was, I think, honestly, man, it was another basic training evolution, dude, right? Evolution just to get me to where I'm at now. A lesson in resilience, you know.
How did like I'm gonna ask a dumb question, but like, how did you're like too late. Um, how did um, how did you know you were gonna survive? Like,
My mindset,
okay, so it's just
you
like
know.
not
I was
accepting it.
driving to work, man, and the doctor called me and she's like, "Hey, can you have time to talk?" I'm like, "Yeah, what's up?" She's like, "You got cancer."
Yeah,
Right? It was like, "Hey." I pulled over. She says, "Oh, I'll call you back and tell you what type." And I was like, "Well, turn it around." All right. So I went home. On the way home, I quit my job. Right. And I pulled up. My wife started crying before I even got out of the car because she's like, "What are you doing home?" Right. She just knew. And then we got on the internet for about an hour. And I was like, "I'm not doing that again." Right. And then I called a buddy of mine and said, "Hey, we need to find a doctor." Eiffel, and he, helped me find a doctor. And basically called another buddy and we designed a t-shirt, you know, said F cancer, right? Breach her up, you know. And my mantra is my whole life is I don't run away, I run towards gunfire. So this is just another enemy, right? So it was all mindset, dude. I'm not effing cancer. Cancer's not effing me. I'm effing cancer. I want to wake up in the morning and ask cancer, how does my dick taste? Right?
yeah,
And that's basically it. Yeah.
yeah, man. It's and that's what it. I mean, thankfully, not like I haven't had cancer. I don't know what that experience is like, but at the end of the day, right, we all have a choice on how we choose to deal with something. Um,
Yeah.
and based off what I learned about mindset and what have you, it's everything, man. Like even if you go back to kind of go back to spiritual stuff, right? Uh, like witchcraft, right? Brujeria, like that is, and I'm pretty sure it's on the islands too, right? Um, that's all like mindset, right? You can choose to allow it to dictate your life, either on the positive side, the good side, or the bad side, or but it's once you start to believe whatever it is that thing is, your body's gonna follow suit with whatever it is you're telling it.
Yeah.
That's why like a lot of people kind of go down like downhill. I got a buddy that he's like 76 now. He had stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and he I mean he could have like hung it up, right? Like he was like in his 70s when he got the diagnosis. He was a mountain biker. He introduced me into the community. But he had a positive attitude all the time, dude. He was still stayed riding his bike even during chemo, and when he couldn't ride, we'd go out. I would take like we'd go walking together, like on a hike, stay in the woods because I do feel nature is healing. Um,
Yep.
and dude, he beat it, man, and he still rides to this day, dude. He's like the biggest kid on the trail, dude.
Yeah.
And excuse me, but yeah, man, nature. is healing. I feel like everything that is here on this earth, well, everything that's organic was created. I mean, granted, a lot of stuff will kill you, like a tiger, right? Like that's probably not going to heal you, but
Yeah.
just being out in nature, for the most part, will kind of put you back into balance. And so, for anybody that's kind of going through anything, like man, like get out in the woods, like go do something, like
Yeah.
try to like get away from everyone and just kind of find that connection, man. Like try to have an open heart, open mind, and if you're willing and you're ready, man, God will start speaking to you and trying to
And pray about it.
pray
Pray,
about it. Yeah,
and dude, I pray daily, and but faith, right?
yeah,
Have faith, right? He's going to take care of it. And also just mindset, right? And faith is part of that. Ain't nothing going to happen to me, right?
yeah. And if it does, like that's God's will, right?
That's his will,
Yeah,
right?
because the stressing about, and I say this, I'm saying this, and it's something I'm working on. Is my faith. It's something I'm learning to like let go and just kind of release that control of the things that I can't control, and
Yep.
allow Him to take it over. And it's a skill, man. It's not a skill. It's a skill. It's a skill like to learn how to do, because I want to try to do everything myself. Um, but yeah,
Dude, so I pray every morning. Let me read this. Get on my knees every morning. I'm on my knees every morning around 4:00 in the morning, right?
cool shirt, by
Uh,
the way.
oh, thanks, brother.
Yeah,
Um, so a perimeter prayer, right? Protect my house, right? But I ask God to crush my ego. So here's my prayer every morning, man. It starts with this page, and it goes to that side, and it goes to that side, right? You're on it. There's a list of people on here, right?
did you write that, or like did you like?
Yeah, I write it and I update it constantly, man, with people who need prayer, like heal my friends with mental, emotional, and physical illnesses or family needs, right? Just anything really, right? And I said, right here, I got my buddy Jared, John, Ricky. Hope that Rob succeeds. We're right here. My buddy Mike Hagan, Robert Keeker, and Simon, right? And then my buddy just came down with cancer, so I wrote his name in. I got to update it, right? Mark Roundsville, cancer, that you remove it from him, But I also wrote, can you crush my ego and my pride, right? And put your words in my mouth so I can build disciples, right? So, I read Ephesians 6 verses 10 through 24 every morning. And then I read 1 Corinthians 16, 13 through 14. Be watchful, stand firm in your faith, be strong, and let all you do be done in love. Yeah. Yeah. And then I send out my daily text to 50 plus people now.
Nice. Do you get a good like engagement back?
Yeah. Yeah, I do, man. I love the engagement that I have with you, man. I love that, the thought that you put into your stuff, um, and I get a lot of good engagement, man, especially from one of my cousins named Charlie. Uh, his dad passed away from cancer not too long ago. He's my son's age.
Mm.
No, I get amazing feedback. And dude, I got guys texting me, can I be on your chat group?
Whoa, that's cool, dude.
Right. And it's like in First Timothy, God gave us talents, right? Like, look at this talent you have, this where you figured out how to do a podcast and have a conversation with people, right? Um, that's those talents, man, is like you can't waste it. He wants you to use your talents for his glory, right? and to say help other people, right? Like right now you're helping people, you know. First Timothy, says like, let no one despise you for your youth, but set the believers an example in speech and conduct and love and faith and in purity, right? So my talent is I just like to lead by example, right? And I can communicate, and my talent is I persevered through a lot of stuff, and I just can use my experiences to help other people. And I have a talent of outdoor fitness and surfing and all that, and I use it to bring other people into the fold so that they can experience, you know, um, the healing properties of the ocean. You know, um, and now with working out and all that stuff, I'm using that to reach guys through just text. You know,
Yeah. I know.
so
I wanna see that workout. You had hinted at it. You said you had got a workout. You were
dude,
willing
it's
to
from a
share.
guy 275 2nd Battalion, 7th Ranger Regiment guy, Judd Leinhard. Dude, if you see the guy on internet, dude, you're like, that guy can move. Dude, this guy's got thighs, man. They're as thick as freaking tree trunks, dude. And the dude bounces like a leopard. Bing, bang, 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 all over kangaroo. Right? But
Yeah.
he's got an amazing strength and conditioning plan, performance, man. And right now I'm in the hypertrophy phase.
Okay.
You know, so I'm training, and now I'm gonna go into the performance phase and get ready for the race in March and April.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I kind of see similar parallels in our experiences. Like, I mean, you got surfing and canoe or kayaking. I got mountain biking.
Yeah,
And yeah, no kidding, man. Like, I sometimes struggle with getting rid of this podcast because I'm like, I wanted, I paused it for a long time because I was like, I don't want to be doing it for myself. Like, I'm not trying to do this to get famous. I'm not trying to like, I want to put out the right message. And at first it was just kind of fun. We are just kind of talking about whatever. And then like, but slowly but surely, man, it just started to distill down into like what am I really doing here? Am I just doing this just to, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
so like, and it's kind of like boiling down into this like very, um, succinct thing. And it was kind of posed by the question of, to me last year about, it was a Marine, like asked me the question like what I would do about suicide, if I could change it, right? If money wasn't an option. So that left me with that question. But kind of going back to it, right? It's like at the very basis of it all, it's like, yes, it is mindset. It is like resilience. It is like diet. It's sleeping. It's like what we're ingesting, um, like on TV or music or what have you that kind of shapes us. It's and at the end of the day, it's having something you believe in, right? Like something
yeah,
like a purpose and community. It's so many things, but at the very basis of it all, if you don't have any of that, it's like God, right? Like, cause that's even in like the 12 step program. I think that's step two of believing in something greater than yourself. And when I went through uh a 12 step program a while back, when I went through a few different programs, I stayed on step one because didn't think I had a problem. I wasn't sure if I had a problem, but I asked all the right questions. But crazy enough, I guess I'm on step two now. You know,
yeah,
I came to that realization recently, but it's just like, yeah, man. But it's been this methodical, like kind of like, because that's like I would tell my kids, like, if I'm gonna believe in something, I want to know what I'm believing in. I want to truly understand it, as much as I can, because I don't think I'm wise enough, or I have the capacity in my brain and my mind and my spirit to understand that something as big as God, right? And like in science, they feel like they, because they can recreate organs, or they could there's no need for God. But that's like one little thing in the vast universe of how we move, like all these animals kind of symbiotically kind of work together, right? And if one of them's kind of put out of the ecosystem, like the whole ecosystem collapses or one thing's introduced. It's so complex, man. And like for some, like going back to ego, right? For some one doc to kind of do this one thing is like, well, there's no need for God, or I am God now. Like that's ridiculous. It's an illusion. But dude, I appreciate and I respect the hell out of you, man. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about while I got you?
No, man. I just I really appreciate you having me on. I'm excited to see you guys again.
Yeah, man.
No, man. God's great, man.
Yes, sir. And if you're ever in Texas, man, or passing through, whatever, I know there's a surf place up in Waco. I still want to go surfing. I don't. That's something I want.
I've been to the Waco one. It's pretty badass.
Is it?
Yeah.
I just need to go do it, man. And but
they got a good water park there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to go check it out. I got a buddy who lives in Waco too. But
either way, there's a hotel on the grounds too.
Nice. What's it? Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll check it out. But if we can make it in May, dude, we'll make it in May. But I don't know right now. But we'll see. I don't know what we'll see what God has in store for us.
You got a place to stay if you need to.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you again for coming on.
Yeah, man.
Where can people find you at?
I think you can find me on Instagram at let me see really quick.
I think it's Ricky _Waterman.
Yep, Ricky _Waterman.
And then Task Force Hydro.
Ricky V _Waterman.
Okay.
And then you got Task Force Hydro 1. Which it's a TF Hydro, the number 1 on Instagram. Okay.
So yeah, if anybody's
same as on Facebook.
What's that?
Same as on Facebook.
Okay.
Facebook's the same.
So
and then our website is taskforcehydro1.org.
There you go. So if you want to give them a follow, if you're interested in water sports, surfing, or is it kayaking, Hawaiian outrigger kayaking?
Hawaiian outrigger paddling.
Hawaiian outrigger paddling.
Yeah.
Look them up, man. It's a good program. And I think, do you guys have several chapters, or is it just the one in St. Augustine?
Just one.
Okay. So if you're guys in St. Augustine and want to go down there and want to check that out, they have a big event in May. It's a big fundraiser for them. We went to it last year. We're blessed to do that. It's an awesome event. Great energy, good time. We did about 50 miles. We ended up doing the channel, but I think this year they're going to try to do the shore.
Try to do the ocean.
Ocean.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks again. I appreciate you guys listening. If you got something from this podcast, please share it with somebody else. If you guys want me to interview anybody or share my thoughts on anything, definitely let me know. You can find this podcast on Crashing Convos on Instagram. And this is also on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. Thank you guys for listening. Appreciate y'all, and y'all have a good one.
All right, Simon. Thanks, brother.
Thank you.